On the evening of June 10th, 1962, a man named Silas "The Wall" Vance reached the Uptown Lounge a half hour before his scheduled time. People called him The Wall, not because of his size, but because nothing ever got past him. He was always ready, always looking for trouble before it started. For nearly a decade, he had served as the personal protector for Bumpy Johnson. In all those years, he never missed a beat or doubted a command. His only goal was to make sure Bumpy kept breathing. Silas walked through the lounge, inspecting every door and scanning every face. He looked at the staff and the guests, searching for anything out of place. He eventually took his spot a few steps behind Bumpy's favorite booth, close enough to strike, but far enough to let the boss talk in peace. Shortly after 8 p.m., Bumpy walked in with his wife, Helen. They sat down, and Silas stood behind them like a statue. A waiter Silas didn't recognize walked up. He looked like he belonged to the downtown cruise. Silas felt his skin crawl. "Who's the new kid?" Silas whispered to the floor boss. The boss, a guy named Leo, shrugged. "That's Tony. He started a few days ago. He's got good papers and says he worked over on the east side." Silas didn't like that. The east side was where the rival families ran the streets. "Watch him close," Silas warned. Tony handed out the menus with a fake grin. "Good to see you, Mr. Johnson, Mrs. Johnson. What are we having?" Bumpy didn't even look at the man. "Bring us the steak, red in the middle, with a side of greens and fries." Tony nodded and headed to the back. Silas kept his eyes glued to the kitchen door. He felt a knot in his stomach. "You're jumpy tonight, Silas," Bumpy noted without turning around. "Something ain't right, boss." "You're usually right about these things," Bumpy replied. A short while later, Tony came back with 2 steaming plates. He set them down and stepped back. As Bumpy picked up his silver, Silas reached out and grabbed his wrist. "Wait," Silas said. "Let me try it." Bumpy sighed. "Silas, it's just dinner. It's my job." Silas took Bumpy's plate. For years, he had been the one to taste every drink and every meal. It was the only way to be sure. He cut off a piece of the meat, chewed it, and swallowed. It tasted fine. He took a second, larger bite just to be certain. Then, the heat started. It began as a small itch in his throat, but quickly turned into a roaring fire in his gut. Silas tried to steady himself against the table, but his legs turned to jelly. His skin went dead white. "Silas?" Helen asked, her voice shaking. The man collapsed. He hit the floor hard, his body shaking uncontrollably. White foam began to leak from his lips, and his eyes flipped toward the ceiling. "Get help," Bumpy roared, dropping to the floor to hold his friend. "Silas, stay with me." Silas tried to say something, but only dark blood came out of his mouth and nose. Bumpy realized the truth instantly. That meal was meant to kill him. His loyal friend had taken a bullet made of chemicals just to keep him safe. The medics arrived fast and threw Silas onto a cot. Bumpy wouldn't let them leave without him. "I'm coming in the back," Bumpy barked. "Family only, sir," the medic tried to say. "He is my family," Bumpy growled, climbing inside. During the ride to the clinic, Silas was fading. His heart was skipping beats, and he couldn't catch his breath. At the hospital, a specialist named Dr. Miller met them at the door. "Has been fed something toxic," Bumpy told him. "What are the signs?" the doctor asked. "Shaking, bleeding, and his organs are giving out," Bumpy replied. Dr. Miller looked grim. "Sounds like a mix of heavy metals and rat killer. If it's already in his blood, there isn't much we can do." They wheeled Silas away to try and clean his system, but the damage was done. The poison was moving through his veins like acid. Bumpy stood by the door, watching through the glass as his best friend fought for his life. When Helen arrived, she found Bumpy staring blankly at the doctors. "Is he going to make it?" she asked softly. "He's barely hanging on," Bumpy said, his voice thick with guilt. "This was my plate. Hez dying because of me." A couple of Bumpy's top men, Zeke and Little Sal, rushed to the clinic as soon as they heard the news. Zeke's face was twisted in anger. "Boss, who did this?" Bumpy's voice was as cold as a winter grave. "The downtown crew. The Genovese family." "How are you so sure?" Zeke asked. "Because Silas checked the waiter. a kid named Tony from the east side. That's their turf. This wasn't a mistake. It was a hit. Little Sal cracked his knuckles. We need to go down there and burn their houses down right now. Not yet, Bumpy said firmly. Why wait? Because Silas is still breathing, and I'm not moving an inch until I know he's going to make it. If he pulls through, we handle it. If he doesn't, I'm going to make sure that crew dies slowly. Around 9:30 p.m., Dr. Miller stepped out of the intensive care unit. Bumpy stood up immediately. Talk to me. Hes alive, but barely, the doctor sighed. That toxin did a number on his liver and his heart. We are doing everything possible, but he paused, looking down. Even if he makes it through the night, he won't be the same. The damage is deep. He might never wake up, or if he does, he could be paralyzed or have lost his mind. Bumpy's jaw set. Can I see him? The doctor nodded. 5 minutes. Bumpy walked into the room. Silas looked small in the bed, surrounded by humming machines and clear tubes. His skin was the color of wet ash. Bumpy sat down and took the man's heavy hand. Silas, I don't know if you can hear my voice, Bumpy whispered, but you need to fight. You've looked out for me for 10 years. You saved me more times than I can count, and you did it again tonight. You aren't just an employee, you're my brother. Don't you dare leave me. Fight. Under Bumpy's grip, Silas' finger twitched. It was tiny, but it was there. Bumpy felt a spark of hope. That's it. Keep fighting. A little while later, Silas' wife, Sarah, came running through the hallway. She was heavily pregnant and trembling with fear. Where is he? Where is my Silas? Helen caught her and tried to calm her down. Sarah, take a deep breath. Think of the baby. I don't care about the baby right now. I want my husband. Sarah cried. She pushed past them and burst into the room. When she saw Silas hooked up to the machines, she fell apart. No, not like this. Bumpy helped her into a chair. Sarah, Hes still with us. For how long? What happened? The food was meant for me. Silas took the bite first. He saved my life. Sarah looked at Bumpy, her eyes red with tears. He was just doing his job, and now his job is going to leave my children without a father. Sarah, I am so sorry. Sorry doesn't fix this, she screamed. My son is supposed to grow up with a father. He's supposed to meet his dad. She clutched her stomach, sobbing. Bumpy knelt down beside her. I promise you, if Silas doesn't make it, I will take care of you and both your kids. They will never want for anything as long as I'm alive. I don't want your money, Bumpy. I want Silas. I know, Bumpy said softly, and I will do everything in my power to give him back to you. Near midnight, Dr. Miller returned with a look of surprise. He's stabilizing. His heart is getting stronger, and his blood pressure is climbing. He's a fighter. Bumpy went back to the bedside. Silas, you're doing great. Keep going. Sarah needs you. Your boy needs you. Don't you give up. Silas' eyes fluttered and opened just a crack. Boss. His voice was a ghost of a sound. I'm here, Silas. The food. Was it for you? Yes. Good, Silas whispered. Then I did what I was supposed to do. You saved me, brother. That's why I'm here. We're family, right? Silas smiled weakly. Treat me like family then. How? Go get the man who put that stuff in the kitchen. I will, I promise. By 2 a.m., Bumpy left the hospital. Zeke and little Sal were waiting in the car. It's time, Bumpy said. Find that waiter, Tony. They tracked the kid to a cheap rooming house. They dragged him out of bed and tossed him into the back of a dark warehouse. Tony was shaking so hard, his teeth were chattering. Bumpy walked in, looking calm but deadly. You poisoned my dinner, Tony, Bumpy said. I don't know what you mean. I'm just a waiter. Bumpy pulled out a sharp folding knife and flipped it open. My friend is dying. Don't lie to me. I'm only asking once. Who told you to do it? Tony broke instantly. Vito Genovese. He gave me 10 grand. He said the poison wouldn't taste like anything, and you'd be gone in an hour. He didn't say anyone else would eat it. I didn't know. So you killed a man for $10,000? I needed the money, my family. Silas has a family too, Bumpy interrupted. A wife and a son, and a baby on the way. You're going to tell the whole city what Vito did. You're going to testify. And maybe, if Silas lives, he'll let you live. Bumpy rushed back to the hospital at dawn, but the news was bad. His kidneys are failing, Dr. Miller said. He needs a miracle. His chances are 20% at best. Bumpy sat in the waiting room with his head in his hands. This was his burden to bear. At 8 a.m., Silas woke up again and asked for Bumpy. When Bumpy got there, Silas looked at him with clear eyes. Bumpy, listen, I've been with you a long time. It was the best life I could have asked for. Last night, I knew that steak smelled off. I ate it anyway. Why, Silas? Why did you do that? Because if I didn't, you'd be dead. And if you're dead, the whole neighborhood falls apart. Sarah would be a widow either way. But this way, you're alive to make sure she's safe. My sacrifice means something if you're still standing. Silas began to cough up blood, and the doctors rushed in. Silas grabbed Bumpy's hand one last time. Promise me, look after my family, and kill that snake Vito. I promise, Bumpy said, tears stinging his eyes. Silas smiled. Then I'm good. I did my job. The heart monitor suddenly let out a long, flat beep. We're losing him, the doctor shouted. Silas, stay with me, Bumpy yelled. Sarah ran into the room, screaming his name. Silas opened his eyes one last time, looked at his wife, and whispered, "Love you always," before his eyes went still. He looked at Bumpy, gave a single slow nod, and took his final breath. At 4 a.m. on June 11, 1962, Silas the Wall Vance, age 32, was gone. The poison intended for Bumpy Johnson had finished its work. Sarah collapsed onto his chest, her screams echoing through the sterile hospital halls, begging him to wake up. But he was cold. Bumpy stood like a statue, his heart breaking. His best friend, his brother, and his shield was dead because of a plate of food meant for him. Helen held Bumpy's arm and whispered, "Don't let this eat you. It isn't your fault." "Yes, it is," Bumpy replied, his voice a low growl. "No," Helen said firmly. "This belongs to the Genovese family, and you are going to make them pay for every tear Sarah sheds." Bumpy looked at Silas' still face, then at the grieving widow, and finally at the flat line on the heart monitor. "Yes," he said quietly, "I am." An hour later, Bumpy walked out of the clinic. Zeke and little Sal were leaning against the car, waiting for news. "Silas is dead," Bumpy said. The words hung in the cold morning air like thick smoke. Zeke's jaw tightened until it looked like it might snap, and little Sal's hands balled into white-knuckled fists. "When do we start?" Zeke asked. "Now." They drove straight to Bumpy's headquarters. Inside, 40 of his best men were already gathered. Every soldier, every heavy hitter, and every loyal soul. Bumpy stood before them, his eyes bloodshot, but his voice steady and terrifying. "Silas Vance died this morning," Bumpy announced. "He was poisoned. That poison was meant for my stomach. He took that bite to keep me standing. He did his job and paid for it with his life." A heavy, painful silence filled the room. "Vito Genovese gave the order," Bumpy continued. "He paid a waiter to slip it into my steak. Silas ate it first. He saved me, and now he's gone. So here is the plan. We are going to war. This isn't about territory or money. This is a war of total destruction. The Genovese crew dies. Everyone who helped, everyone who knew, and everyone who watched it happen dies. We are going to burn his entire world to the ground, and we are going to do it in 48 hours. The room exploded with shouts and the sound of weapons being loaded. Bumpy raised a hand for silence. "One more thing. Silas' funeral is tomorrow. We are going to give him the biggest send-off this city has ever seen. I want every one of you there in your finest suits. We show him respect because he wasn't just a guard, he was family." The men filed out, their faces set with grim purpose. Zeke stayed behind. "Boss, how do we handle Vito?" "I want him alive," Bumpy said. "I want him to watch his empire crumble first. I want him to feel the walls closing in. Then, I'll end him myself. What if the other bosses try to step in and talk peace? Let them try, Bumpy said coldly. This isn't up for debate. Silas is dead. Vito dies. End of story. By 10 a.m., the first wave hit. Bumpy's crew struck 6 of the Genovese operations at the exact same time. A betting parlor in the east side was raided and cleaned out. A loan shark office in the city was torched, turning all their debt records to ash. A shipment warehouse in the docks was hit. The guards were taken out, and the inventory was vanished. A high-end club owned by the rivals was smashed to pieces, and their protection money collectors were chased out of Harlem at gunpoint. To top it off, Bumpy's men bombed Vito's favorite lunch spot. No one was inside, but the message was loud and clear. We are coming for you. By noon, the city knew Bumpy Johnson was on the warpath. Vito received the updates one after another, and his lead advisor was visibly shaking. Sir, they've struck every single one of our hubs. We're being slaughtered out there. Give me the damage report, Vito barked. Nearly $500,000 gone in a single morning, and it's only getting worse. Johnson has his soldiers on every corner. What's the move? Vito went silent, his mind racing. Finally, he picked up the phone. Get me a meeting with Frank Costello, now. By mid-afternoon, Costello walked into Vito's private lounge. He sat down, looking at Vito with pure disappointment. Vito, what on earth were you thinking? I did what was necessary, Vito snapped. You tried to take out Bumpy Johnson and ended up murdering his shield instead, Costello said, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. Silas Vance was a family man. He was loved. You made this personal, Vito. It was always a fight for the streets. No, Costello corrected him. Before this, it was about blocks and bags. Now, it's about a brother's blood. Do you have any idea what you've unleashed? Bumpy has spent 3 decades earning the loyalty of every soul in his neighborhood. You just gave them a reason to die for him. Silas Vance died a hero, and heroes start crusades. Vito sneered. I can squash Bumpy Johnson. You really can't, Costello replied. He isn't coming for your wallet. He's coming to put you in the ground. Let him try. Costello stood up to leave. I came here to give you a fair warning because of our history. Bumpy isn't looking for a sit-down or a payout. He's going to end you, and I'm going to step aside and let him. You broke the code, Vito. Using poison is a rat's move, and we don't protect rats. For the first time in his career, Vito felt a cold shiver of true terror. Later that afternoon, Bumpy went to see Sarah. The house was packed with grieving relatives, and the air was heavy with sorrow. Sarah's mother opened the door, her expression turning to stone when she saw him. You've got a lot of nerve coming here. I need to speak with Sarah, Bumpy said softly. She's broken. Saying sorry won't bring Silas back to us. I know that, but I made Silas a promise before he passed, and I intend to keep it. The mother eventually stepped aside. Inside, Sarah was clutching a framed photo of her and Silas on their wedding day. Little Silas Jr. was tugging at her sleeve. Mommy, when is Daddy coming back from work? Sarah couldn't even speak. She just sobbed harder. Bumpy knelt down on the floor in front of her. Sarah. She looked at him with eyes full of hatred. You're the reason he's gone. Vito killed him, Bumpy said. But he died because he was standing in front of me. You're right to blame me. It is my fault, and I'm going to spend every day I have left trying to fix what I broke. How? She spat. How do you fix a dead father? By making sure you and your children are set for life, and by making sure the man who took him away never sees another sunrise. I don't want an apology, Sarah whispered, her voice like venom. I want him in the dirt. He will be. By tomorrow night, I promise. Bumpy pulled out a thick, heavy envelope and placed it on the coffee table. What is that? Pay for his life? It's not a payment. It's for the kids and the new baby. Silas made me swear I'd look after you. This is the first step. Sarah stared at the money. $75,000. This doesn't change anything. I know it doesn't, Bumpy said, but it keeps the lights on. As he stood to leave, Sarah looked up. Make him feel the pain Silas felt. I will. By evening, Bumpy's crew had tracked down Tony, the waiter. They handed him over to Costello, who grilled the kid until he spilled everything. Costello recorded the confession and then called Bumpy. "I have your witness," Costello said. "He gave up everything. Vito paid him, gave him the toxin, and walked him through it." "I want the kid," Bumpy said. "Not yet. He needs to talk to the council. I'm calling a summit of the 5 families for tomorrow morning. You're going to lay out your proof, and the council will decide Vito's fate." "Decide what?" "I've already decided he's a dead man, Bumpy. If you kill a boss without the council's blessing, you'll have every crew in the city hunting you. You can't win a war against all of us." "Then they better make the right choice," Bumpy replied. The meeting was set for 9 a.m. the following day. The atmosphere was tense at the secret meeting spot. All the major players were there: Frank Costello, Vito Genovese, Carlo Gambino, Tommy Lucchese, Joe Bonanno, and Bumpy Johnson. Genovese tried to protest, snarling, "I'm not pulling up a chair with a..." Costello cut him off with a look of pure ice. "You'll sit down and listen, or you won't leave this room alive. It's your call." Genovese sat. On the morning of June 12, 1962, at 9 a.m., the neighborhood said goodbye to Silas the Wall Vance. The church was overflowing with more than 2,500 mourners. Silas' coffin was buried under a mountain of white roses at the front of the altar. Sarah sat in the front, clutching her young son's hand, her pregnancy a heavy reminder of what was lost. The local pastor delivered a powerful tribute. Silas Vance was a shield. He didn't just watch one man's back. He stood up for our entire community. He stood in the gap so others could walk in peace. 2 days ago, he gave everything he had so that another man might live. That isn't just a job. That is the highest form of love. The sounds of weeping filled the hall. Bumpy sat in the very last row, unable to face the family. The weight of his guilt was a physical shadow over him. Helen squeezed his hand and whispered, "Don't let this crush you, Bumpy. It wasn't your hand that held the poison. I was the reason it was there," he replied quietly. "He chose to protect you because he believed in you. Respect that choice. Don't let your sorrow win." Bumpy remained silent, his eyes fixed on the wooden box. After they laid Silas to rest in the earth, Sarah tossed a single carnation onto the lid and nearly fell over from the grief. Bumpy was there to catch her. "I can't face the world without him," she cried. "You have to," Bumpy said firmly. "For the boy and the one on the way. You are the wall now. You are their protector." Sarah looked him in the eye, her voice cold. "Then you keep your word. Make that monster pay. I'm on my way to do it now." At 10 a.m., the council of the 5 families gathered in a quiet warehouse. The bosses sat in a circle with Bumpy Johnson. Tony, the waiter, was there too, bound in heavy chains. Frank Costello opened the floor. "We are here because Vito Genovese broke the oldest law we have. He used poison to settle a score. That's a rat's tactic, and it's forbidden." Vito jumped to his feet. "I had every right to strike. Bumpy has been taking over my corners. So you try to kill him like a coward at a dinner table?" Costello retorted. "You missed your target and murdered an innocent man instead." "Silas Vance was just a guard," Vito sneered. "He was a man of honor," Bumpy said, standing up slowly. His presence filled the room. "He was my brother. He leaves behind a wife who is about to give birth and a little boy who doesn't understand why his father isn't coming home. He died in agony because he was doing the job he loved, protecting me from a snake." Bumpy stepped toward Tony. "This man has already told the truth. He confessed that Vito handed him $15,000, along with a mix of arsenic and cyanide. He was given specific instructions on how to end my life." Tony hung his head and mumbled, "It's the truth. I took the money and I did it." Vito jumped up, his face reddening. "This is a fix. You beat a confession out of a frightened kid." In response, Frank Costello pulled out a small tape recorder and pressed play. Tony's voice filled the room, clear and steady, admitting to every detail of the plot without any prompting. Vito turned ashen as the other bosses listened. Carlo Gambino spoke first, his voice dripping with disgust. "Vito, you've brought shame to this table. Using poison is a coward's move, and killing an innocent man has put a target on all of us. This isn't how men of honor conduct themselves. Joe Bonanno nodded in agreement. If we let this slide, we're no better than street thugs. There has to be a price. What kind of price? Tommy Lucchese asked, glancing at Bumpy. Justice, Bumpy said firmly. Define that for us, Costello requested. A life for a life. Vito's head for Silas's. The room went silent. Costello spoke carefully. If we allow this, it means any boss can be taken out for breaking the code. Good, Bumpy replied. That's exactly the rule we need to live by. The four Italian bosses looked at one another. Then slowly, one by one, they gave a nod of approval. Vito's face drained of all color. You can't do this. It's already done, Bumpy said. You have 24 hours to handle your business. After that, I decide how you go out. Vito tried to bolt for the exit, but Bumpy's men were already blocking the door. It's over, Vito. You lost. The next evening, Bumpy brought Vito to the same warehouse where Silas had been fatally poisoned. He had him tied to a heavy chair. Vito was no longer acting like a tough guy. He was sobbing, begging for mercy. Please, Bumpy, I'll give you the docks, the gambling, anything you want. Just let me live. You can't give me the only thing I want, Bumpy said coldly. What's that? My brother back. Since you can't do that, your life is the only thing left to take. Please, I have a family, Vito wailed. So did Silas, Bumpy snapped. He had a pregnant wife and a little boy. Did you think of them when you handed over that vial? You called it business. Is murdering a father business to you? I didn't mean to kill him. I wanted you. Then you failed twice, Bumpy growled. You failed to kill me, and you failed to realize I'd come for you. Now, you're going to die exactly the way he did. Bumpy pulled out a small bottle containing the same deadly mixture. You're going to drink this, and you're going to feel every second of it. Vito fought, but Bumpy was too strong. He forced the liquid down the man's throat. Within minutes, Vito began to shake. He foamed at the mouth and bled from his nose, his body failing, just as Silas had. Bumpy watched with a stone-cold expression, checking his watch. It took exactly 45 minutes, the same amount of time Silas had suffered, for Vito to finally go still. The following morning, Sarah went into labor. She gave birth to a healthy 8-pound baby boy. When the nurse asked for the name, Sarah looked at the infant and thought of the sacrifice that had been made. His name is Silas Bumpy Vance. The nurse smiled. That's a strong name. It is, Sarah said. He's named after two men, one who died for his friend, and one who made sure it wasn't in vain. A week later, Bumpy visited Sarah and held the newborn. He looks just like his father. He has those same eyes. He handed her another thick envelope. What is this, Bumpy? A college fund for both the kids. It's enough for school, a house, or a business. I promised Silas I'd look after you, and I'm a man of my word. Thank you, Sarah whispered, her eyes tearing up. Thank you for keeping your promise. Years later, in 1983, Silas Bumpy Vance graduated at the top of his class from a prestigious university. During his speech, he looked out at the crowd. My father died before I was born. He gave his life to protect a man he loved like a brother. I never got to shake his hand, but I know who he was because Bumpy Johnson made sure I never forgot. He told me the stories, he showed me the path, and he taught me what it means to be a man of honor. Bumpy, now an old man, sat in the front row with tears in his eyes. Helen leaned over and whispered, "You did right by him." I had to, Bumpy said. He saved my life. Saving his family was the least I could do. Loyalty isn't just a word you say. It's a debt you pay. Silas Vance proved his loyalty with his life, and Bumpy Johnson proved his by never forgetting. The legacy of Silas the Wall Vance lived on far beyond that graduation stage. Bumpy Johnson spent his final years ensuring the Vance family was the most respected and protected household in the city. He never forgot the man who took a lethal bite of steak just so his boss could see another sunrise. Until his very last breath, Bumpy remained a guardian to Silas' children, proving that while a life can be taken in an instant, a true debt of honor lasts forever. The story of the bodyguard who fell and the king who rose to avenge him became a legend on the streets, a reminder that in a world of silver and lead, loyalty is the only currency that truly matters.